This is a relatively easy chapter. We're going to study in two parts. The first part, we're going to study different types of sectors based on the economic activities. So, without any delay, let's begin. First, let us know what is an economic activity. Economic activities are activities that result in the production of goods and services. If you have activity, you're performing an activity which yields you goods and services, it can be called as an economic activity. Now you can see the pictures here. Economic activities: agriculture, marketing, production, which has goods and services, can be called as economic activity. Now there are different types of economic activities. There are different types of organizations and there are different types of ownership. Based on these three, the sectors of Indian economy have been classified. Now, basis on economic activity, it has been classified as primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Basis of organization, it's been classified as organized sector and unorganized sector. Basis of ownership, it is classified as private sector and public sector. So we are going to look at the classification based on economic activity. Based on the economic activity, the sectors are classified as primary, secondary, and tertiary. We'll go for the primary sector. What is primary sector? As the name itself says, it includes activities carried with the help of natural resources. Most of the natural products that we get are from agriculture. Therefore, this sector is known as agricultural and related sector. It's normally known as agricultural sector too. What is the importance? It provides raw materials to secondary sector in the absence of which production cannot take place. Example, you can take agriculture, fishing, mining, forestry. Now, there are many activities in primary sector that are undertaken by directly using natural resources. Take for example, the cultivation of cotton. It takes place within a crop season. For the growth of the cotton plant, we depend mainly, but not entirely, on natural factors like rainfall, sunshine, and climate. The product of this activity, cotton, is a natural product. Similarly, in the case of an activity like dairy, we are dependent on the biological process of the animals and availability of fodder. The product here, milk, also is a natural product. Similarly, minerals and ores are also natural products. When we produce a good by exploiting natural resources, it is an activity of the primary sector. Why primary? This is because it forms the base for all the other products that we subsequently make. Since most of the natural products that all subsequently make, since most of the natural products we get are from agriculture, dairy, fishing, forestry, this sector can also be called as I told you before, agricultural sector, right? Now we'll move on to the next one, that is the secondary sector. These are the examples for the primary sector: agriculture, mining, dairy, fishing, forestry. The secondary sector includes activities which involves transformation of raw materials into finished goods. Generally, this transformation takes place in industries. Therefore, the sector is known as manufacturing also, industrial sector also. Importance: it converts raw material into finished goods. In its absence, the raw material will remain unutilized. If you use it to process it into something meaningful, then only the raw material is used. Otherwise, it is unutilized. Example, manufacturing industries like car making, cloth making, sugar. Now, this sector covers activities in which natural products are changed into other forms through ways of manufacturing that we associate with industries. It is the next step after primary. The product is not produced by nature but has to be made, and therefore, some process of manufacturing is essential. This could be in a factory, a workshop, or at home. For example, using cotton fiber from the cotton plant, we spin yarn and weave cloth. Using sugarcane as a raw material, we make sugar or good. We convert earth into bricks and use bricks to make houses and buildings. And since this sector gradually associated with the different kinds of industries, this is also known as industrial sector. These are the examples: earth into bricks, sugarcane into sugar. Now, after the primary and the secondary, there was a third category of activities that falls under tertiary sector and is different from the above two. Tertiary sector includes activities which render services to the other two sectors. These activities don't produce a good but are a support for the production process. Also called a service sector as it generates services. The importance of this sector is an important link between the other two sectors which would not develop in the absence of this sector. Example, transportation, banking, communication, teaching. These are activities that help in the development of the primary and the secondary. These activities by themselves do not produce a good, but they are an aid or a support for the production process. For example, goods that are produced in the primary or secondary sector would need not be transported by trucks or trains and then sold in wholesale and retail shops. At times, it may be necessary to store these in godowns. We also may need to talk to others over telephone or send letters or borrow money from banks to help production and trade. Transport, storage, communication, banking, trade are some examples of tertiary activities. Since these activities generate services rather than goods, as I told you before, this sector is also called as the service sector. Now, service sector also includes some essential services that may directly not help in the production of goods. For example, we require teachers, doctors, those who provide personal services such as washermen, barbers, cobblers, lawyers, people to do administrative and accounting job. In recent times, certain new services based on information technology such as internet cafe, ATM booths, call centers, software companies, etc. have also become important. Now, if you go to the textbook, you will have in page number 21 an activity of economic activities. You have an activity to do. It is an examples of economic activities. You can try that out if you are not sure about this concept. Now, economic activities, though are grouped into three different categories, are highly interdependent. Let us look at some examples that is there in that table. Please go through it. Now, these are the examples I have told you before. Now, interdependence of the three sectors. Yeah, that's the example that I had told you. The three sectors are interrelated. One sector needs the help of the another to carry out production. We will see how. Now, this is the cotton industry. What happens in the primary is cotton is grown and picked on a cotton farm, right? From primary, cotton is grown and picked on a cotton farm. It goes to the industry, processed to cloth, which is in turn sewn into clothing, right? Then what happens? The cotton which has grown, which goes to industry, comes to the cloth shop as jeans and shirt and sold in shops. In the process, Many other services like banking, transportation, communication, storage, etc. are all needed. Now the question comes, how do we count the various goods and know the total production of each sector? Now, concept of final goods and intermediate goods. Let's know what is a final good and an intermediate good. What is a final good? Final goods refer to the finished goods which are sold in the market. For example, if you buy a biscuit packet or a phone, it's a final product which is sold. Intermediate goods are all those goods which are used by the producer for producing other goods, are known as the intermediate goods. It can be raw materials too. Now look at this example, right? Nuts, milk, wheat, sugar, oil, essence is required to make biscuits, right? It's not your favorite biscuit, it's not Oreo biscuit, but still. Now, biscuit here is a final good, whereas nuts, milk, wheat, and sugar, oil, essence are intermediary goods. Now, I hope you are getting it. Now, with so many goods, services produced, you might think this is an impossible task to count the various goods. Not only would the task be enormous, but you might also wonder, how can we add up cars, computers, nails, and furniture? Right? You cannot add up all the intermediary goods to make the final value. So, what happens at that time? So you are right in thinking. To get around this problem, economists suggest that the value of goods and services should be used rather than adding up the actual numbers. Should not add up, right? Services. Now, for example, it is given here. We'll take this example. Quantity of wheat is 50,000 kilo and price per kg is rupees 8, right? And what is the value of the wheat? 50,000 into 8, that is 4 lakh rupees. That's the value. To find the total production of a sector, the monetary value of goods and services is added rather than adding up the actual numbers. The monetary value is added. Remember, there is one precaution that you have to take. Not every good that is produced and sold needs to be counted. It makes sense only to include the final goods and services. We are taking wheat, right? Take for an instance a farmer who sells wheat to a flour mill. A farmer who sells wheat to a flour mill for 8 rupees per kg. The mill grinds the wheat and sells the flour to a biscuit company for rupees 10 kg. And the biscuit company uses the flour and things such as sugar and oil to make 4 packets of biscuits. And they sell it for 60 rupees at 15 rupees per packet. Biscuits are the final goods which reach the consumers. So we are counting the value of the biscuit. While calculating the total production of a sector, the value of only the final goods is included and not the intermediate goods. The value of final goods already include the value of intermediate goods. Sometimes this question is asked why it is not included. Because in the biscuit, the value of flour, the value of wheat, the value of grinding, the value of whatever required to make a biscuit is also included. Then only a final product is made. So if we also count the value of those intermediate goods, then it will lead to double counting. That is counting of value of good more than once. You will count the biscuit also, you will count the wheat also. So double counting will happen. So here in the case of biscuit, we take the value of biscuit, that is rupees 15, will be counted as it already includes the value of wheat and flour, right? I think that would be a very good explanation for you. Now let's move on. So if you calculate, let's say if you calculate the final value of goods and services produced in a year, what it is called? It is called as the GDP, the gross domestic product. The value of goods and services produced in each sector in a particular year is calculated and added up. The sum of the production in three sectors gives us the total production in a country, that is the gross domestic product, or else called as the GDP. GDP is the value of final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year. Now, just think what is if the value of final goods and services produced outside the country, what it is known as, right? Now, let's look into change in the importance of sectors. Wait, I'll just go on back to GDP. In India, the mammoth task of measuring GDP is undertaken by central government ministry. This ministry, with the help of various government departments of all the Indian states and union territories, collects information relating to total volume of goods and services and estimates the GDP. So normally, finance ministry will have the work of calculating the GDP. Can you comment the GDP of India in the comment box? Now, change in the importance of sectors. What happens is, generally it has been noted from the history of many now developed countries that at initial stages of development, primary sector was the most important sector. As the methods of farming changed and agriculture sector began to prosper, it produced much more food than before. Many people could now take up other activities. There were increasing number of craft persons and traders. Buying and selling activities increased many times. Besides, there were also transporters, administrators, army. However, at this stage, most of the goods produced were natural products from the primary sector, and most people were also employed in this sector, right? Over a long time, and especially because new methods of manufacturing were introduced, factories came up and started expanding. Those people who had earlier worked on farms now began to work in factories in large numbers. People began to use many more goods that were produced in factories at cheap rates. Secondary sector become most important in total production and employment. Hence, the shift had taken place from the primary to the secondary. Now, in the past 100 years, there has been further shift from secondary to tertiary sector in developed countries, as the service sector has become the most important in terms of total production. Most of the working people are also employed in the service sector. So you can see there is a general pattern observed in developed countries, that the shift has gone from the secondary to the tertiary. The shift between the sectors can be seen in two terms. Now look at here. In terms of share of each sector in GDP, the shift has been seen from primary to secondary to tertiary. In terms of employment, the primary sector continues to employ the maximum people. You will have a question, which sector holds the maximum number of employment, that is the primary sector. While there has been a change in the share of three sectors in GDP, similar shift has not taken place in employment. Why is the question? If you know it, you can comment it in the comment box. This is a graph to show about the shift in these sectors. It shows the production of goods and services in the three sectors. This is shown for 2 years, that is 1973 to 2003. This is an old graph. In the book, you will have a new graph. You can see how the total production has grown over the 40 years. Here it is 30 years. Which sector do you think has grown the most over last few years? Check this and comment in the comment box. The share of sectors in GDP. Look at the GDP sectors, how it was and how it has changed. Primary sector produces 1/4 of the GDP, whereas the secondary and the tertiary produces 3/4 of the GDP. Shares in employment, where the primary still holds the highest, employs more than half the people. Tertiary and the secondary employs less than half the people. Though the share of primary sector in GDP has declined, yet it employs maximum number of people. Think why. Why does primary sector still continue to employ maximum number of people? In India, there has been a change in the share of three sectors in GDP, but similar shift has not taken place in case of employment. Why? More than half of the workers are working in primary sector, yet producing only a quarter of GDP. Explain. So here it is. I'm going to stop this video, and the answers we will discuss it in the class. Otherwise, the next video that's going to come up, I'm going to discuss the rising importance of the tertiary sector, unemployment, and the other organized and unorganized public and private sector in the next video. Till then, it's goodbye. Think about the answer. If you know it, you can comment